It was there a minute ago, and now it's just this sheet of white fog which has just taken over the island. It's a bit scary.
It is a little bit strange, and probably not great weather for flying.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's meet our studio guest. Nina Proctor moved to the Isle of Man at the age of 2, and after moving away and some time living in Harrogate and then on another island, namely Gibraltar, Nina, her husband and teenage son, or nearly teenage son, returned here in March last year. And Nina, the past 12 months have been a whirlwind of settling back into island life, but also you have released your first book. That was in January this year. Well, we've got a copy of it and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But when did you decide that you wanted to start writing?
Well, when Alex was little, I just had the idea for a story because basically he loved pilots and he loved flying and aeroplanes. And I used to read him every day, and we couldn't find any stories at all about pilots. So we just kind of made up our own stories. And then one day I thought, yeah, really, I should put this down on paper and write a book, how funny that would be. And then years went by, and then about 3 years ago I thought, right, I really should, actually do it. So I eventually wrote about 6 stories. So the first one, I just sent them off to the publisher one day, 2 of them, and nearly fell over and died when I got a publishing contract through the post.
How did you actually find the publisher? Because that in itself is quite a process, isn't it?
Well, to be honest, because I was unpublished, I literally just Googled publishers for unknown authors, and that's how I found it. So, and I just sent it off, and I didn't even tell my husband I was sending it off. So when I got the contract, he couldn't believe it.
So your son then, Alex, is really your muse. I'm delighted to say he is here as well. He and Ben have already bonded over a fortnight. I know I keep mentioning it, and Christy, you keep sort of shaking your head at me. This is a big thing in child's life.
We should explain it is a game, apparently,
It is.
It's not a game, it's the best game.
Okay, whatever. But Alex, how do you feel about your mum's book?
Oh, well, I'm very proud of her.
Oh.
It's a big achievement for her, and I don't know.
What about the fact that you were actually in it, in the inspiration? How does that make you feel?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to flatter myself, but
we have got the book here. It's called G'day Captain Jimbo, An Australian Adventure. And the illustrations are just beautiful. Who did these?
The publisher actually did them. They asked me for ideas for each scene. So obviously when you're writing the story, you envision it, how it's going to look. So I just thought, right, each scene, this is what I want. I sent them loads of photographs of different sort of pictures of people, or, just ideas. And then they came back with all these different beautiful illustrations.
And Alex is actually in the book, really, isn't
he?
He
is actually in it, yes. He is the co-pilot. Yes, he wanted to be.
And you said you did write it for Alex. So, Alex, did you enjoy the story when you heard it?
I feel like I'm a bit too old for it, but to properly enjoy it. But I think to younger audiences, I think it would be quite nice.
Because who's it aged at? What sort of age group?
It's aged sort of 4 to 7 years old, really.
And what's lovely about this is, apart from the fact that obviously it focuses on being a pilot, which, as you say, I don't remember seeing any books really focusing on that. It's also got that educational element to it as well. Is Australia a place you've been to?
It is. When I was younger, I spent a year there on a working holiday. So I absolutely loved the place. I thought it was fantastic. I've still got friends there from that trip who I keep in touch with. So, and I used to talk to Alex when he was little about Australia. So that's why we chose it for the first story.
And you say you have written other ones, and is that the idea that it is a travel series almost?
Yes, each book, Jimbo and Alex fly to a different country, which is why the airline that they're on is called World Airlines.
Catchy.
And then they, one of them, which I hope, if this one does well, then I hope the next one will be published, and that's the one when he comes to the Isle of Man.
So we've got an Isle of Man one too.
Yes. So the idea is to try and, I don't know, show children different places around the world, and then, like I say, educational, with a few little things about the country that they're going to fly to, and then there's a nice little adventure while they're there.
And Alex, we were talking before about, obviously, it's about you wanting to stories about pilots and things. Is that because that's what you want to do? Do you want to be a pilot?
I did want to be a pilot when I was younger, but then I discovered the world of gaming, and I want to be a professional gamer.
Fortnite has a lot to answer for.
I think it really does. Oh my goodness, that's a whole other conversation really. But Ben is extremely excited, Alex, to have found a kindred spirit. But I mentioned, Nina, that you have only really recently moved back to the Isle of Man. I mean, obviously you spent your childhood growing up here.
Yes.
I just wonder what it has been like the past year settling back in.
It's been surprisingly easy. At first, I was really I was quite homesick for Gibraltar, really, mainly because of my friends, and I missed having my home there, and it was very cold when we got back here, I won't lie. But having come back, it's been lovely to. I mean, I went to the Buchan. It's been lovely to go to events at the school there, to meet old friends from school, old friends I used to work with. All the familiarity of being on the island. It's such a safe place. It's just a lovely place to live, and I'm just so grateful to be home.
And Alex, what's it been like for you moving to the Isle of Man?
A change. It's been for the best. I wasn't too happy in Gib, and the island is like Mum said, it's a safe place. I've always liked the outdoors, but being in Gibraltar, you couldn't really do much outside because it was mostly concrete. But now that we're here, I feel much more free, and I feel like I've got a lot more friends and possibilities.
How wonderful. And Nina, you're writing a blog, been looking at your website, which is sort of documenting everything, and obviously focuses on the launch of the book. And it must be an incredible thing to have that dream, which started, about 5 years ago, and then seeing your book in print. It's being sold by lots of local bookshops, I understand.
It is there are a few bookshops who are selling it. I'm hoping to get it into a main one in Douglas. So they keep promising me they'll order it, so fingers crossed. But yes, am I allowed to mention?
Do it.
Yep. We've got the Bridge Bookshop hoping to get it in there. They've said they'll order it in in Port Erin. Also, Presence of Man. They were the very first people actually to stock it in their shop in mostly Manx. And Suzanne, I'm very grateful to her for that. She believed in me. And then latterly, the Gaslight gift shop in Castletown, she's taken a few, and also Cree Bray in Castletown as well. I'm taking some down there. So slowly, but...
And in being on the Isle of Man, we've talked to people in the past about the fact that it's a really sort of creative space. Have you felt any more sort of inspiration in being here? Has it sort of opened up possibilities with your writing in that respect?
I do feel more creative here because I think I'm closer to nature here, and I feel more relaxed here. I think it's everything's flowing more easily here. Like when I first thought, I've got to do a blog. In fact, it was my web designer who sort of mentioned it. And I thought, I've got to actually keep writing, like about me, about my life. I didn't know what I had to write about. But things just occur to you. And then, like the other night, I woke up in the middle of the night, scribbled something down. Because you get an idea and then you think, well, if I don't do it now, in the morning I'll have forgotten that opening line or whatever, So, definitely being here has opened that up for me.
And can you give us any little teasers as to what we can expect from the Isle of Man book in the series?
Well, suffice it to say, it involves motorbikes and fairies.
Two of the best things about the Isle of Man.
Absolutely. And did I see a picture on the blog of you marshalling?
Yes, I am a marshal. I started in August last year, because obviously we only moved back last year. So I was at Bradden Bridge, and I'm doing my incident management training course, my first one, next month on the 13th of May. And then I shall be marshalling at the TT this year for the first time.
And have you always had a passion for motorbikes, or is this something you just kind of fell into?
No, having grown up here, my father was really into the motorbikes. You know, he used to love to take us when we were children, and we'd just run around at the back quite bored. But, you know, we used to go around the grandstand and meet riders. There's some famous ones that we met when we were children. And obviously I've, you know, followed it as an adult. And I always thought one day I'll marshal, just to give back, really. And then when they were appealing last year because they had a shortage, I thought, oh, I really should do it this time.
Fantastic. So the countdown is on then to TT this year.
It is, yes.
Yeah, it really is now.
I keep seeing that.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have been back to the book and school, and you did a reading for some of the children there. Now, children are the most honest critics, aren't they?
Yes.
And I imagine, you know, talking to 4 to 7 year olds, maybe not as daunting as a slightly older age, but what was that like, and what sort of response did you get?
Well, at first they were all a bit like rabbits, you know, caught in headlights. They sort of looked at me like I was a bit of an alien. But the teacher said to them, right, children, who would like to be an author like Nina? And all these hands shot up, which is really cute. And then they really enjoyed the book. They sat very quietly, but they were dying to ask loads of questions, and they loved it, actually. It was really sweet.
Did any of them say, can we meet Alex?
No, but I brought a little stuffed dolphin along with a hat, because that's in the story. And as one of the little girls wanted to know what the dolphin's name was. Of course, I didn't have a name for the dolphin.
Do you know, I'm thinking merchandise, Alex. I think maybe you could be made into a little doll to go along with this book. What do you reckon?
I think I'd be pretty good, yeah.
If it's good enough for Doctor Who, then, you know.
Yeah, I'd be a top seller.
You would.
And Nina, you've got a really interesting background, because you mentioned your father, who is English, and your mother is from Trinidad.
Yes, that's right. So my father was a professor at the university in Trinidad. Met my mother there, and then we moved to they moved to England after they got married. And then when I was 2, as I said, they moved to the Isle of Man. And then when I was younger, my father took another post at the university in Trinidad. So my brother and I went out to Trinidad, and we were at school there for a couple of years before having to board back here. But it was lovely, because obviously I've got family over there, which, you know, I didn't normally get to see. And I loved it there. It was like, I think my brother and I both say it was our favourite part of our I shouldn't say that really, but it was a part of our childhood. I think because it was so different, that really stood out for us. It was hot. We had, you know, we could go to the beach. There were family that we didn't normally see. It was, you know, it was just a really fun time.
So do you think it's important, and especially with the themes in the book too, do you think it is important for young people to be able to sort of travel and sort of get out and adventure and that sort of thing? And it's obviously, you know, Alex has had quite a varied life already on that front, hasn't he?
Yes, I know, I do feel, and that was one of the reasons we went to Gibraltar, actually, was we wanted Alex to be able to experience a different lifestyle, a different culture. I think it broadens your mind. I think it's just so important for children to travel, for everyone to travel, really. I think it's just great.
Well, Nina, Alex, it's so lovely to have you with us this afternoon. Thank you very much for bringing in a copy of the book. I should hold it up in front of the camera and see if that gets picked up, if we decide to use that video, because that will be available on the website a little bit later. We were talking about the weather. And lots of people have been in touch, actually, to say it's quite sunny elsewhere. Brian says it's a lovely sunny day here in Peel.
Oh, thanks for that.
I'm at Governor's Hill, so somebody else, sun bright and very warm. Okay.
Maybe it's just Manx Radio is enveloped in some sort of peculiar magical cloud.
Maybe it's our grumpy cloud following us.